what I see at Ask Amy is a good reminder of what's happening out there in the rest of the world. And just in this week, there were sort of 3 questions that I got that made my sort of radar go off. And one was from a young woman who was writing to me about her boyfriend who watches porn incessantly. Now the question, mind you, was not about the boyfriend's porn. The email was about how when she tried to make her own porn to show to him, he wouldn't watch it. And she was trying to make him understand that that made her feel rejected. And I said, I don't really know how to make you understand this, but I actually think you should take it as a compliment. Because I think he disrespects those women, and he's actually trying to show you some respect. Another email I got was based on a study that came out a couple weeks ago, noting the increasing number of women who are remaining unmarried, the CNN poll. And I'm an unmarried person, so I think that's why I was being asked this question. And I was so shocked because nowhere in the study did it mention the number of unmarried men. And the third question that I was getting was about the trafficking of girls in the United States and just what a high increase. And why did I personally think it was so hard to tackle? And I sort of sounded back that I thought it was so hard to tackle because we don't want to be tangling with monitoring masculinity. And the thread throughout all of these stories is, I think, what I want to talk about today a little bit, which is that as much as there's a war on women, there's a protection of men, and there's a protection of masculinity. And I think that that's why it continues. And there was this moment, there was this sort of glimmer in 2008, and I say Biden was crying, and Obama was saying he was going to go to his daughter's soccer games, and the Wall Street was failing, and we realized those guys weren't that smart anyway, and wars weren't working. And I think we had to look inside ourselves and say, why have we overvalued these institutions and these things? And unfortunately, the crack didn't, it got repaired quickly, and we were back to things as usual. But it was a moment of, I think, me personally looking and saying, how have I myself contributed to overinflating these moments in my life? And so, not that I think we have to rejigger this question, but I think there's something also really crucial, is when we say there's a war on women, I think that most of us in this room generally agree with that. I'm not sure the majority of people out there do. Because I think there is a real protection that happens, and there are a lot of assumptions made. So I think the first thing we have to do when it comes to tackling the war on women is acknowledging that there is one. And the way, I think the next step is to talk about masculinity a little bit. And I think we're scared. I think that as much as we want to inflate femininity, and I think we've done an incredible job over the past several decades of showing that women could do what men could do, we haven't yet given enough room to show that men could do what women can do. And somebody asked me today in a question, they said, if you had the opportunity to have one woman leading the country, or 50% of the households run by men, what would it be? I said, easy. And she said, a woman president? I said, no, 50% of the households run by men. Because I think that that would be a bigger leap of our imagination. And I think that that trickle down and up would have a profound impact on this country. When I travel around to colleges, one of the things that I see a lot is this sort of alarm about Title IX on college campuses. And we have to lose, we had to lose the boys wrestling team in order to have a girls volleyball team. And what I always say back is, no, the reason you lose the boys wrestling team is to keep the boys football team. And I was in a school uptown recently, and a girl had brought a knife in middle school in her violin case, and parents were outraged because the administration didn't suspend her. And had it been a boy, they would have suspended him. And I said, but inherent is that we don't take girls' violence seriously. It's not that a girl was getting off easy, it was that we didn't think she could do damage with it. We think boys do damage with it. I was at many schools, but most recently at a school out in Chicago, and once again, girls were being imposed a dress code on them because their clothing is distracting to boys. And so the natural response is, well, let's cover girls up, and then boys won't be distracted. And it was, again, just this reminder of how I think in subtle ways we all tolerate this. We all tolerate this assumption that girls have to preserve themselves so that boys can be boys. And I think that if we are going to progress this conversation further, not only do we individually, I think, have to stop acting differently. I know I have to call my friends, and instead of asking the mother what the child wants for their birthday, I have to call the father. And in my own life, I have to stop and inflating the men around me, but we really have to send that message out there. It's not enough that we promote women and that we encourage that access. That access is not going to feel comfortable until there is less masculinity. And that's something that will not only benefit women, but it'll benefit men who don't fit neatly into that definition of masculinity as well.